I never thought I'd know this kind of gladness that my heart sings with joy. Ever grateful 'cause I found all I've asked for, all I ever wished for in you. You are everything I need, everything I need. I've been searching for a lifetime and indeed I found what I've been looking for. You're everything I know, now and travel near and far, searching for the one to whom I give my heart. And very much in love of heaven, no other way. For the rest of my life, I'll stay with you. Stay with you. Everything I need, everything I need. I've been searching for a lifetime and indeed I found what I've been looking for. You're everything I need, everything, now and nowhere else would I go. No one else I'd rather know everything I need. I've been searching for a lifetime and indeed I found what I've been looking for. You're everything I need, now and you're everything I need.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to our first ever Themes and Motives Regional Forum in the Visayas. Yes, I'm so excited to be here. I am Luis Fermata Villanueva of J. Cyrus Creative Studios. We are one of the music tutorial centers in Negros Oriental. And I will be your host for tonight. How are you? Tonight marks our culmination of our online bridal fair, Bidlisiw. Tonight, we are joined by our regional experts, and they are now ready in our virtual backstage. They are also prepared, and are willing to share their insights regarding weddings and events in the pandemic. So, viewers, stay tuned to the end of our show. In the first part of our forum, we will be joined by three experts. To start off, our first guest is a wedding planner. She has over 12 years of combined experience of weddings, corporate events, and more. Also offering destination wedding services, she is very happy to be on hand with her brides and grooms to ensure each event is simply breathtaking. Ladies and gentlemen, may I welcome the owner of Weddings Exquisitely Designed, Agnes Joy Tuale. Hello, Agnes. Good evening.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for watching. I would also like to greet my wed family and all our grooms and brides watching tonight. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Agnes. Now, viewers, get ready for our next guest. She is a wonderful and talented stylist with 14 years of experience. As you may know, ladies and gentlemen, all of our guests tonight are close friends. Now, this beautiful friend of ours is also an owner and head of her company. She is very, very creative in all sorts of events. In fact, her company name is Creative Concepts. Ladies and gentlemen, leave your hearts in the comments below for Grace Miriam Sisip Romano. Hello, Grace.
Hi, I'm Grace. I'm from Creative Concepts. I've been in the events industry for the last 14 years.
Thank you, Grace. This time you are joined by a very special guest. I hope that you guys are still watching because we have a makeup artist and event specialist also joining us tonight. Part of the Negros Events family, this person has been with the industry for 28 years and an expert at making beautiful ideas come to life. From beauty queens to making the most beautiful bride, this expert is more than qualified. Ladies and gentlemen, the founding owner of DDA Events, better known as Ding Dong Ang, make sure to leave your hearts in the comments below for Dean David Ang. Mayong gabi, Tita Ding.
Magandang gabi sa tanan. So I'd like to especially make a shout out to my fellow makeup artists in Negros Oriental, to my DDA events team, and especially to my co-speakers here tonight, Miss Agnes, Ma'am Grace, Luigi K, Isabel, Jerry, and of course to our beautiful host Luis. Good evening to everyone.
Thank you so much for the very kind words, Tita Ding. And now, let's begin. So, the first simple and yet important question: are events allowed in the pandemic? Miss Agnes, will you do the honors?
Although the COVID-19 virus has postponed several weddings and events early this year, we are very glad that recently there has been easing of health and safety mandates and that we are gradually returning to holding events which have been postponed. We understand that this has been a terrible time for all of us in the industry, but as we navigate this by following the health and safety protocols mandated and that we adhere to the IATF guidelines, especially for areas which are already on GCQ and MGCQ, there is an existing ruling of the IATF that areas on these classifications may hold events with 50% of the venue capacity. But of course, we have to make sure that we have to be in coordination with the local government units so that we adhere to the local health and safety protocols. In a very recent news released by Bloomberg, it is good to know that 71% of clients are able to adhere to this health and safety protocols, and even 63% of couples are very happy to adhere to the physical distancing protocols that has been set for us all. As a wedding planner, it is very important that we are very sensitive and we are very keen on observing these protocols so that we ensure that everyone is happy and healthy as we do our events, even in this very challenging time.
Thank you very much, Agnes, for the insight. At this time, may I ask Miss Grace in the styling perspective about events in the pandemic?
When the lockdown was implemented in March, events were put on a hold. And yes, who would believe that events would be totally put on hold? But then again, now that we are on GCQ, the IATF has allowed events for as long as the guest list is only 50% of the venue.
Also, weddings are really allowed for as long as for as long as we follow the government protocols, which is 50% the population of each event. So that isn't such bad news, actually. If you're going to have an event, it will be more intimate, right? All right. At this time, we are going to be enlightened by the makeup perspective. Tita Ding?
As per the IATF protocols or the guidelines that the IATF are giving us out with regards to holding events, with the MGCQ happening now, events are allowed. And I believe that I have been having events already this past few weeks and months. So I guess there's no problem with holding events in this time of the pandemic as long as we follow the health protocols set by the government.
That's true, Tita Ding. I strongly agree. In this pandemic, I think it's best and it's important that we stick together. So, our three experts tonight have clearly answered our first question that yes, it is possible to have events or weddings in the pandemic for as long as we strictly adhere to safety and health protocols in our government. All right. Now, I'm quite intrigued to our three experts tonight. I would want to ask them, how have you survived, or how has this pandemic affected your line of work, Miss Agnes?
As a wedding planner, there is no denying that the pandemic has terribly affected our profession. The live events industry has essentially been paused as early as February of 2020. Based on the news released by the Philippine Daily Inquirer in July of this year, it has been estimated that the live events industry lost a total revenue of 132.83 billion. Come to think of it, this is a whooping number, and you could just imagine how many people in the live event sector and even the freelancers or the production group have lost several opportunities to earn income in this very, very challenging time. So I would really like to say that our industry is indeed affected, but I also believe that creative industry or the live events industry are composed of very talented and flexible individuals, and this may have been a difficult or challenging time for everyone, but all of us have learned to navigate by being chefs, by being online sellers, and a lot more things that has taught us to explore more about ourselves. And I think these are also good things because we have turned this time into still a time of productivity for us in the events industry.
That's true, Agnes. I could truly relate to this. I, for one, although I am a voice coach and host, I have been tapping into baking just to sort of like um, have other means of income because of this pandemic. Now, I would want to ask Grace, how has this affected your line of work?
Well, a lot. I look at creative concepts as a new business right now because I have to see how I can transcend this business in the new normal. There are things or practices that we used to do or we did for the last 14 years that we can no longer do right now. And there are also new protocols that we have to follow. So, yes, social distancing. What used to be a 10-seater table now can only accommodate six. And a venue that used to hold 500, we usually have 50 or just 100 guests. So there's really many changes that the pandemic has brought about.
That's true, Grace. We are all embracing this change because of the pandemic. And I believe that us being in the industry, this has tested us in our creativity on how to make our events beautiful despite the prohibitions. It truly has tested our resilience as well. So, at this point, I would also like to ask Tita Ding your insights, please?
Greatly. This pandemic has affected my work greatly. And speaking in behalf of the makeup artist industry in Negros Oriental, um, daghan kaayo ang nawad ag trabaho. And I believe that we are the sector that is not represented well in terms of the economic meter on the recovery of a certain sector in the community in terms of economy. So I believe that daghan kaayong naapektaran nga mga makeup artist in Negros Oriental because whether you like it or not, daghan kaayo ang mga artist nga kaantigong mopagwapa. So with this pandemic happening, lots of bookings have been canceled or postponed. I myself have bookings already for this year until December and even in 2021. And all of them canceled, if not postponed their dates to a latter date. So I believe that um, it has greatly affected in terms of revenue, and I hope that we can cope up slowly by by the end of the year.
We are all entitled to feel that way, but the good news is we see that there's a gradual return of these events. That's it for our first set of regional experts, ladies and gentlemen. So please stay tuned because we will see them again later on. Before we proceed to our second part of our forum, let me acknowledge our sponsors, for without them, this virtual event would not be possible. We would like to thank Themes and Motives, the Wedding Inspirations Company, Bravo Hotel, our designers, Larry Ibasate, Jerry Fernandez, Anthony Cinco, Janeth Gonzalez Hui, Johanna Tan. We would also like to thank our sponsors for our food, Senor Pedro, Antonelli's Cuisine, Weddings Exquisitely Designed, Chinita's Kitchen, Tierra Alta, Tuti's Kitchen, and Kiosco. For our hair and makeup, Edrico Valencia, Patricia Goyenechea, Jeffrey Biliran, Angelou Salvoro, and Kim Tan. We would also like to thank Mr. John Opal Aranas for our transportation. Our graphic design, Verge, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, we are now ready for the second part of our forum. If you just tuned in, you're watching Weddings in the Pandemic. Tips from our regional experts, brought to you by Themes and Motives. And now, our second batch of guests are ready for you. Here to join us in the second part of our forum are two experts in their field. Of course, we did not forget about photography. We all know that photos are the key to remembering our favorite moments in life forever. Introducing a young and talented photographer who has been in the industry for 10 years now. He has done engagement shoots in various countries and even in different destinations across the Philippines. Of course, photography goes hand in hand with videography. Our next expert is very passionate, having formerly studied film herself. Together with the other co founders of the company, they have traveled across the country to shoot and film various weddings, debuts, and other special events. Their work is truly unique and a sure way to remember your special day. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready to meet Luigi Anton Borromeo of Creative Stills Photography and Kay Marie Cacaldo of TYL Multimedia. Hi guys, what's up?
Hello, good evening. I hope everyone's doing fine. I'm Luigi of Creative Stills.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. It's nice to be here. And good evening also to my fellow speakers of the night.
I want to ask you guys right away. How has the pandemic affected your line of work in photography and videography?
Yeah, actually, the pandemic affected our industry a lot since uh, the events are really canceled. Weddings are quite okay since it's just postponed but to a later date. But we lost a lot of revenue. For our team, we didn't invest in new gear with this year. We tried to venture to different, like we're accepting editing work from online. It's actually a good there's a good thing that happened. There's also a bad thing, but it's a bad thing.
As a videographer, as a wedding videographer, um, just like everybody else, um, the pandemic has greatly affected our line of work um, because most of our bookings were canceled or even moved indefinitely. And there are still inquiries coming, but they're not yet sure whether they want to have a photo or a video for their wedding since the allowed number of guests or the attendees are like 50% of the venue. So I think they are not willing to spend that much since since the guests are just their close relatives or something like that.
Thank you so much, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we're not done yet. We still have two special guests who will be joining us tonight. Moving on to our next guest, who is very known for their fascinating designs. This extraordinary designer has even made it international. Wow. And is very familiar with the pageant scene, in addition to weddings, festivals, and all other events. Of course, ladies and gentlemen, cake is very important. It is truly a very important part of all our events. Decadent cakes, naked cakes, painted cakes, you name it. Help me welcome creative director and cake artist Isabel Sagarbaria of Sans Rival Pastries here to join us tonight. And of course, Jerry Fernandez of GF Creations. Hello, guys! So happy to see you.
Hi everyone, I am Jerry Fernandez, a fashion designer. I've been designing gowns for almost 20 years. With this, I was given the opportunity to showcase my creation in the national and international arena.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for tuning in. Like other industries, the cake and pastries sector has really been greatly affected. Our sales have really gone down. There were a lot of cancellations, especially in weddings, and also a lot of postponements. However, private parties, like in their own homes, have compensated for this cancellations of events because no matter what, people still celebrate their parties. Like, but this time they just do it at their own homes. Like, for example, for first birthdays, those are milestones. So people still really order cakes and they celebrate at home.
The pandemic has been very challenging for everyone. It was never easy. It affected my profession big time. Personally, my designer shop was closed for several months due to executive orders in our city banning mass gatherings were issued. So weddings, beauty pageants, company parties, and other events which I cater most were all canceled. I've lost like 75% compared to what it's like before pandemic strikes. Overall, we're probably one of the most affected knowing that the new policies like social distancing and venue capacity requirements. So no gathering at all. And it impacted a lot in our part.
Yes, we all are affected because of this pandemic. And because of the downturn of the economy, I want to ask you guys if or have you lowered or adjusted your rates because of this?
So if ever the couple is opting to have a intimate wedding, then we ask them if how many bridesmaids do you have. Actually, for us, you'll classify as a intimate wedding if you only have one bridesmaid and one maid of honor and one groomsman and one best man. So that's it for us. So it's actually uh, we classify it as a intimate wedding. So we give you a special rate, and uh, for our intimate wedding, we took out the SDE, the same day edit. So since most of the intimate weddings, it's usually just a family and they don't opt to rent screens and everything like that. So that's it. So it's actually case to case basis for us.
Actually, no, we haven't really lowered our rates. This is because ingredients and materials are actually harder to come by now during the pandemic. Because of this scarcity of ingredients, we're actually placed in a tight spot. We actually have to think of innovation, like what other ingredients or material we can use instead of what we usually used before. So this actually makes it more difficult for us now. This allows the couples to save because they will be ordering less desserts. They could also opt for smaller cakes instead of the big 4 tier cakes, 5 tier cakes. Now most clients are ordering around just a 1 tier cake or 2 tier cakes. So this helps them save during this time.
I don't think so. Apart from the fact that our services and products are produced using the same creative process, technique, materials, and resources, we are now even spending more given that we need protection gears like PPE, masks, face shields during fitting and dressing up.
All right, we've heard the point of views from our photographer, videographer, our designer, and cake artist. This time, let's hear it from Agnes, Grace, and Ding Dong.
Lowering rates. Let me emphasize that with pandemic, with or without the pandemic, our scope of work, um, the scope of work did not change. We still do the same thing. as a makeup artist, we are one of the suppliers that comes or have this face-to-face engagement with our bride. Kami mo'y kanang ingnon ta nga kanang muduol mo hikap. So we are the ones who are at high risk. So with this pandemic happening now, I think that it is fair enough to say that kinahanglan clients should also understand the risk that we are taking. And giving discounts can be an option, but before giving this promotional rates, I would like you to I would I would like to give you a scenario on how we work as a makeup artist. After a client books, number one, we do a consultation. In the consultation, what we do is um, we check on the bride, skin condition, the type of foundation that best suits her skin tone, the kind of shade for the eye color, the lipstick, etc. Next, we do a test makeup. So after the consultation, we do a test if what has been discussed fits or looks best for the bride. After which, the wedding day comes. So we do our makeup. Our work starts at 8 o'clock, and then we do a what do you call that? A dress up look, and then we change the hair and makeup for the bridal look when the bride wears her gown. And then after which we do a retouch. It's either we change the tone of the makeup into a warmer tone, and then we change the hair for the reception. So basically, that encapsulates the the fee that the bride is paying for. So with that being said, I would like our client to understand why we are charging this much. But worst scenario, understanding the pandemic side or the economic side of this pandemic, we still can give um, rates, promo rates for our clients because kitang tanan na apektuhan man gyud ani. And sad to say, or it's not dili ingon nga sad to say, but ako na lang ingnon nga tungod kay nakasabot ko, I have I have been giving um, promotional rates recently just to address the demands of the times.
Indeed, times like this call for flexibility. What about your thoughts, Grace?
Some people ask in the events industry if we really have to lower our rates. It really depends. I always say it's on a case to case basis. For instance, since events were allowed in April, we have converted to using local flowers, local materials. I always say that the trend is organic. So I lower my rates in the sense that I do not order from abroad anymore. I used to work with Ecuadorian flowers, orchids from Thailand. But since the lockdown and since logistics is very difficult, importation is very difficult, the pandemic has really taught me to look around, to look in my surroundings, to look at what we have locally. Since this costs a little bit less than the import, so I lower my rates in that sense. But I also do not say that all the rates should be lowered because, like, one, payroll is still the same. Two, yes, if you get flowers from Baguio, from Manila, the freight has gone up 3 times. Although you spend less, I mean, couples spend lesser in the sense that the guest list has lowered. So everybody's into intimate wedding, cozy weddings, small weddings, little gatherings. So in that sense, you save on the cost of catering. But I would say in general that if it's the costs or how much you charge should be on a case to case basis.
Well, I think that really proves that there are different strokes for different folks. Let's now hear from Agnes.
With an economic downturn taking hold of the global economy and the many uncertainties of the pandemic that has not really shown us any signs of ebbing, it is very understandable that event planners or many people, workers in the creative industry, would really try to explore other sources of income just to be able to navigate in this unprecedented time and to ensure that they have projects in the pipeline. While there is no denying that I have thought of lowering my rates at this time of pandemic, I have also taken serious thought on this matter. So, my take on it personally, as most wedding planners, or say professional wedding planners at that, is that there is really no reason to devaluate yourself. So, in our line of profession, being a wedding planner, we see weddings as the melting pot of culture, of individual differences. There you see an intersection of social status, of individual expectations, and all these factors come into play when you talk about weddings. And all these factors are already chaotic in themselves, and that as a wedding planner, we deal with all of these factors. And the pandemic has not really made it easier for us. Well, I personally believe that the pandemic has complicated these factors. And at the intersection of all this, we have to navigate and ensure the health and safety of the couple and of our guests. The second angle that I would also like to look into is the angle of operational expense, as it has never been experienced by the events industry that operational expenses are higher than ever because we have also to spend for face masks, for face shields, for even for swab tests. These items are also compounding the operational expenses that we event planners have to spend for. And thirdly, we also have to understand the value of our time, the value of our profession. So I think it's important to be flexible with the rates, but it is also equally important to consider that we take risks. We have additional operational expenses, and that we also need to put value to the things that we do for all our clients. And the very important thing, most of all, is that we ensure the health and safety of our clients. It is always very important because you just don't think of a situation like, say, for instance, an uncle of a bride, then you have to worry if he has drunk too much from the bar and he becomes unruly in the party. Now you have to also think that there might be a potential gate crasher, which is a deadly virus coming to the party of the couple. And I think that's really, really big responsibility for wedding planners right now. Yeah.
Wow, we have such varied yet valid answers from our experts. Given the demands of what the pandemic has allowed us, what have you done differently during this time?
We have been very careful. Safety is a priority. My shop is sanitized at least twice a day, and we use protection gears like PPE, masks, and face shields during fitting and dressing up weddings, debuts, pageant, and others. And we are very compliant to government policies and regulations.
We actually haven't really changed much of our protocols because even before the pandemic started, since we are dealing with edibles or food, we are very keen on cleanliness and on sanitation. We really regularly sanitize all our tools, tables, and the whole area. We already use masks, we use hairnets, And we already did regular hand washing because that's really a must in the food industry. I guess an add on to this is we now use face shields and we already practice social distancing. I guess we are lucky that our space now is actually big enough, so we are really able to follow social distancing at the workplace.
What things have we done differently during the wedding? Well, before, um, we were allowed or we were inclined to touch the things of the bride or the groom, like arrange it the way we like it or the way we see fit. But now we just put it in a distant table or a chair, or even the bridesmaids or the bride. We just tell them to stand over there or sit there, but no like touching or just directing from a distance. And also, we have learned a new skill, which is doing sign languages. Well, we cannot avoid that we need to get the ring and the some of the things that we need to use during our video shoot or the photo shoot in that matter. Um, Before we return it to the coordinator or the person assigned to have it, we sanitize it before we return it back.
We're not that close with the bride or groom, but distance wise, but we ensure that we have our surgical mask, and we have our alcohols on hand. So also the gear wise, we sanitize our gear with UV after work. So that's it for us for the photo.
As a makeup artist, we take responsibility on the fact that makeup artists are the ones who engage face to face with the client. So we are at risk at all times. So we make sure that I am protected, the makeup artist, and the bride is protected as well. So what I do is I wear um, a personal protective equipment. So these are PPE suits. Nagpatahi gyud ko og mga fashionable PPE suits. I wear face mask. I wear face shield. I put on gloves to protect the bride. I use a lot of alcohol every now and then just to make sure that everything is clean. The day before, we clean everything, our makeup tools. Um, we, sani- we sanitize. I even bought a sterilizer because I'd like to make sure that everything is clean. Um, the makeup chair, the makeup bag should be wiped with alcohol. Um, Lipsticks, powders, everything that's in your makeup bag should be cleansed. So, in other words, we have been doing this even before pandemic. We have been cleaning our tools already, but with the recent situation that we are having, the additional the additional responsibility that we are taking is using this PPE thing, which I think is a little bit of a burden on our part because it's very init, it's very hot to wear, and I hope that everybody in the makeup artist industry will take this seriously so that we can make we can have a safer environment for our clients.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that our online forum has been informative. But before we go, I'd like to ask for some final thoughts. Ding Dong and Agnes?
I am very much humbled tonight having to speak in behalf of our makeup artist. For one, because this is very timely to speak about the happenings of the wedding industry, more specifically, the makeup artist community in Negros Oriental. So I am in a position that I would like to shed some light regarding how we are coping up with this pandemic. And I hope that this discussion tonight will give us a little bit of hope to at least para kitang tanan, not just kaming mga makeup artists, but we can work together to uplift each other and to bring back our industry the new normal way.
To all my fellow designers, let's move forward, embrace the new normal, and let's be more innovative this time. And to all our clients, hoping to work with you all again in your future events.
So, my advice to event planners and wedding planners out there is very simple. I've summarized it into one sentence. And my advice is keep on planning. This time may not necessarily be the time or may not be the best time to be an event organizer. And I have felt that, I have experienced that, and it has been a struggle. But one thing I am sure of is that these times will not last. And we should not despair and we should not give up because we are still important even in this time of pandemic. There are still couples who will need our services and they will count on us to do it well, safely, and thoroughly to create the best moments of their life. Thank you.
We would like to say thank you for those who have submitted their questions earlier on. We hope that you have received your answers on our comment section below. As the saying goes, love conquers all, even in a pandemic. The good news and a very important rule is that we can still celebrate with our loved ones for as long as we adhere to our government health and safety protocols. We hope that this virtual event has been interesting and insightful enough. Once again, I am Luis Fermata Villanueva of J. Saris Creative Studios saying stay safe and God bless you. Bye.